Everyone, welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. Delighted to be peering into the creative, monstrous, it looks like, space. There are lots of monsters surrounding you, sir. I hope you are safe. The creative space of author Steve Niles. Steve, thank you for joining.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. I've enjoyed your work for some time, and I know that we're talking about some of the spookier corners of the comics and prose universe, which is perfect because Halloween's just around the corner. October is just a few days away.
Yeah, exactly. I always get excited for Halloween. I'm trying to get into it this year. I usually try to do a movie a day,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Hmm.
just a classic horror movie, something like that. But with the schedule like it is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
Yeah, yeah. Well, may it be so. May there be plenty of time to engage in that. I'm sure that fuels the creativity as well.
Oh, it does. It always does. I get huge inspiration from, movies and reading and things like that. Although I don't really read a lot of horror, I do watch a lot of horror.
Yeah, I enjoy the daily, like good morning or whatever the post is, some classic
Yeah.
monster illusion. Enjoy that. Were movies always a part of your background in storytelling? Was that something that connected you right away?
Uh, Probably my earliest horror memories are movies. It took a while for there to be, till I discovered comics. Um, but, as a kid, we had our local creature feature,
Mhm.
which would run movies every Friday, Saturday night, and Sunday all day. They would run the Abbott Costello and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, huge impact on me, especially movies like Night of the Living Dead, which captured my imagination in so many ways as a kid. Not only because it's a fantastic horror movie, but because it was DIY. This is
Mhm.
Romero made this thing in Pittsburgh for 80,000 bucks, and I love that. That was such a huge inspiration to me as a kid, especially I was on the East Coast, so I never really thought about Hollywood or anything that much. It wasn't really a motivator. But boy, I love George Romero.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Classic voices and um, I'm curious about your writing process. I'm curious as you're engaged in this next month of creating, are there particular things that you do, particular rituals that you go through, or does it vary by project?
Um, it the only thing it's there's a difference between when I do comics and when I do prose.
Right.
When I do prose, it's strictly the Cal McDonald stories, which he's the hard-boiled monster hunter detective I write. When I write him, I just dive in. You know, I
Mhm.
love I love his voice. I love letting the story sort of tell itself. But with comics, it's a detailed outline every time, because I've got to deal with space issues and things like that. It's got to be a certain amount of issues. So it needs a little more planning. And what I do is I wake up very early because we have animals and they like to wake us up around 5.
Right.
So I'm usually in the office by 6:37, and I find whatever project or whatever is lined up, and I like to wake up writing, you
Mhm.
know. That's my only real ritual that I do is that I have the hardest time if I get an idea at like 5 at night. I'll take notes or something like that, but I usually don't run into the office. I like my mornings.
Yeah. I imagine that would also keep you up, uh, some of the ideas that you have as well.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
not too bad. I don't really, that's one thing I've always been very lucky. Well, not so much anymore. When I was a little kid, I could watch anything, all the
Hmm.
gore in the world, all this stuff. As I've gotten older, I don't know if the movies have gotten worse or what, but I've actually gotten somewhat squeamish about certain things. I was just watching Weapons, movies like that, and they all have
Oh
scenes
yeah.
like you're just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
so. But no, nothing really keeps me up at night except insomnia.
Ah, got you. Got you. Yeah. Well, you mentioned Cal McDonald. I know that that character, that world has been a few decades now, right? Yeah, it's been a
Yeah,
good bit of developing.
I've been writing him since I was 19, since I was like, yeah, 19, 20 years old. I'm 60 now. So he's been in my life for a really long time. And, I finally decided I love doing the comics. The comics are great, but I
Hmm.
think he comes alive in the prose.
Yeah,
Because it's his voice and all that. So I just now I'm DIYing a new short story collection. I raised money on my own and paid like Joe Jusko did this amazing cover that's sort of a McGinnis, scary McGinnis cover. Um,
nice.
yeah, so yeah, I love Cal, and as a matter of fact, right before we hopped on, I'm working on a new story. It's fun,
Cool.
I love any creative process. Um,
Yeah.
I'm doing a biography, a book about my day, sort of my life, a little bit, but mostly about the band.
Hmm.
So I've had this script around for a couple years. I put it through like multiple it's gone through multiple versions. Had the worst time trying to find an artist because it's about a very specific scene in the 80s and 90s, in Washington D.C. And I found this guy Brian Walsby. He's a punk artist. He's never done comics before. My wife is doing the lettering. I found a punk rock publisher in Pennsylvania. So, like yesterday, I had the best time because he did a rough of his first page. And I was like, that's great. Let's ink it. We got it inked in the same day. My wife lettered it, So like the comics, it's another one. It's kind of a DIY because it's outside the comic industry. Um, but I had the best time yesterday just assembling pages. It's so fun
Nice.
seeing the stuff come together.
So, as somebody that's worked in prose, in comics, in music, have there been particular moments that have been breakthroughs, watersheds, or kind of turning points in your writing process?
Oh, I mean, there's been a lot. Um, I think most of the time you get taken by surprise with stuff like this. I mean, I don't think people realize it, but I worked for years and years and years in comics before I did 30 Days a Night. I was in my
Hmm.
mid to late 30s when I did 30 Days a Night. I had no clue. It was just another comic I was doing, just trying to get it done. We didn't even get paid. I just wanted to get a comic out. And that's the one that exploded.
Yeah.
It's that was a huge moment for me because suddenly I was an accepted writer and people would wanted to see my stuff. So it was funny because people thought I was very prolific. I was emptying drawers, because I've been writing for all those years, and I had Cal McDonald stories, I had Freaks of the Heartland, I had all these things that I had already written. So when that happened, when 30 Days broke, I was able to keep busy for a lot of years. So that was huge.
Your career started, at least as far as publications, the early 90s, right?
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s. Like I think
Yeah.
89 is my first publication.
Yeah.
I self-published a few books. I was very lucky coming up because I met Clive Barker when
Hmm.
right before he exploded in the US. So we became friends and he gave me permission to do lithographs of his artwork that he did for the Books of Blood. So that was huge. That was really huge. That, got a lot of stuff. I was still sort of being a publisher writer at the time. And then another writer was really kind to me is Richard Matheson.
Oh,
When
wow. Yeah. Hmm.
when I was just, I mean, literally just a little punk, I remember writing him a letter on a typewriter, um, and just sort of explaining how much I loved I Am Legend, and that I thought the two attempts at the movies at the time, there was only two attempts, weren't great, and I really wanted to do it as a comic. And he wrote me back almost immediately and said, he'd sell it to me for $100, the rights. And that his faith in me and Clive's faith in me really launched everything. You know, so, and I sort of stumbled around a little bit. I was adapting his stuff. I was publishing other books when the whole time I really wanted to just be a writer. So about the time I teamed up with Eclipse Comics, I started writing more. You know,
Gotcha.
it was a hard thing to
Yeah.
get rid of. Everybody thought I was an editor or a publisher, and I really had to get rid of that.
Mm-hmm. You kind of had to find the spaces to show the
Yeah,
range, right?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So, but luckily it happened, but here I am. I'm publishing again. So there you go.
yeah. The cycle continues.
Exactly.
Yeah. Uh, what is it about horror suspense that makes it a unique space for you? And I am curious what's on your reading table since you don't read in that vein. I'm curious about that side
I
of
mean,
things as well.
I love James Elroy. I love
Oh
the
yeah.
old pulps. I love
Hmm.
just Chandler. I mean, you can see it in the Cal McDonald stuff. Cal
Hmm.
McDonald is my love of noir, just thrown into a world of horror. You know, and I mean, Cal completely embraces the horror. But I've never really understood my attraction to it, other than what I really love is your imagination can really go wild. I mean, I'm sitting here
Hmm.
writing Cal books. You'd think, oh God, you're writing a monster hunter. You're going to run out of monsters eventually. That's sort of the Night Stalker syndrome. By the time you get to the headless motorcycle rider, you got to start rethinking things. Um, but so I just love it because I'm forced to have to create new monsters and new, just things of horror. I just love that. And I feel like I did the biography, so I can write straight fiction, but I just
Hmm.
prefer to just let my imagination go crazy.
Yeah. The boundlessness of it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Cal McDonald is what's current, what's coming up. Anything else that you'd like to mention in that vein of things?
Well, I'm mainly working on creator-owned stuff. I'm working on a new series with Chris Mitten. That's a sci-fi horror. It's called Vulture, and we're just gearing that up. I have a book, another a graphic novel with Damien Worm called Heartbreak Manor. It's sort of a turn of the century ghost story, Christmas ghost story. So I really
Hmm.
love those. Like I watch all those the BBC Ghost Stories for Christmas, the M.R. James. So that was a real inspiration. I got that going, and then I've been contracted to do 380-page graphic novels, but I'm on an NDA, so I can't say anything about
So you
it.
have lots of room to write, but nothing to share, nothing that you can
Exactly.
share yet.
Exactly. So, but I always try to keep busy. It's not always easy these days. The comic, things are a little rough right now.
Mhm.
But I just truck along, I just keep writing. I keep writing and keep hoping and, hoping something lands.
Yeah. I'll mention in terms of your connections, I've heard Clive Barker is a very wonderful person, a kind man. That's what
He's
I've
great.
heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he helped me out. I was a kid. I mean, I was like 20, 21. He had no reason to have faith in me. And he gave Eclipse half the rights to the Books of Blood, and he gave the other half to me, which was
Nice.
just like, that's what got me working with Eclipse too, but yeah, Clive's, you know, very kind. I haven't spoken to him for years.
Mhm.
He doesn't get out as much. He's not really doing appearances. I think he did an official last appearance at a monster convention. But yeah, great guy, just great guy.
And I've heard lots of wonderful things about Ray Bradbury, but you're the first person, I believe the first person that's mentioned Richard Matheson, just fantastic writer and visionary.
I loved him. There's a wonderful, well, there used to be, they're closed now, but there used to be a bookstore called Dark Delicacies in
Mm-hmm.
LA, just wanted, run by wonderful people. And they would always, when I was just up and coming, nobody really knew who the hell I was. They would let me do signings with like Ray Bradbury. I did a signing with Ray Bradbury, and I would just sit. He'd have the line, and
Right.
I'd have, I'd have tumbleweeds. But it was so I got to meet all these great people, and he was very kind. I got a book signed. I got a
Uh-huh.
Fahrenheit signed. So just yeah, it's so I've been very lucky. I've managed to work with so many of my heroes. Matheson, work with John Carpenter.
Hmm.
In a
Hmm.
variety of ways. I got to work with and become friends with Bernie Wrightson.
Yeah.
I did an adaptation of Dawn of the Dead for Romero, a long time ago, and it's just like these are all my heroes. You know,
Mhm.
so really inspiring stuff.
And contemporary voices, you've worked with Kelly Jones, if I can mention Rob Zombie, also part of
Yeah,
that
yeah,
collaboration. Yeah.
yeah. We did a couple books together. Kelly and I did tons of stuff together. Uh,
Mhm.
Actually, he's doing some amazing stuff right now. He's doing the Dracula book with Matt Wagner. That's
Yeah,
it
that's
looks
good
like
stuff.
Kelly's best work. So really excited. But yeah, I've been very very lucky, to work with so many people.
Yeah. Well, if I'm a listener out there and I want to follow along and find out more, if I want to follow the Cal world and all of those sort of things, where might I go to do that?
Well, there's my website. First of all, steveniles.net, and then I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. Actually, I'm giving
Love
Blue
that
Sky
one.
a push right now. I got off Twitter. Um, yeah, so that's how you can find me. I'm pretty easy to find. Just, contact me through my website if you need to, or like check out my Facebook. I'm pretty sure my Facebook is public. So, yeah.
Great, great. What is next on the film viewing list for the month of October? And did we miss anything that you want to make sure to include?
Um, I love there's I love there's a new movie called Weapons that
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
totally worth checking out. Just a great way, a great into a classic monster. Um, Actually, you know what we're doing? We're watching Succession right now. I never watched it.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
Never saw it.
Hmm.
So we just started season two last night, and I'm loving it. That's the kind of writing really impresses me, and so I just love to watch it, managing all those characters in the world. I just love that.
Awesome, awesome. Well, many thanks, Steve. Glad to have you back anytime, of course. Glad that we could make the time work. And I'll continue to look for your name on books for some time to come.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.